Horry County gets 4 death calls a day. Meet the person who answers the phone. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Horry County Government and Justice Center in historic downtown Conway. We're focused on the coroner's office in Horry County, and we're visiting with the coroner himself, Robert Edge. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Good to see you today.
Thanks so much for coming in early on a Tuesday morning. I see you've got somebody with you.
Yeah, I've got little baby Richard here with me today.
That is fantastic. Well, of course, we'll be talking some about the Child Fatality Advisory Committee, which you served on for 6 years statewide, which is a tremendous commitment there. Obviously, baby Richard having a big role both across the board as well as statewide.
Yeah. How we came about getting baby Richard was through a state grant through Child Fatalities, and our goal with Richard is when we have an infant death that we take Richard with us, and we have some other little dolls. And lots of times when a death occurs with an infant, it's hard for mom or daddy to tell us how they found little George or Richard or Molly, and hopefully that little Richard will help put everybody at ease, and then they can show us how they found them and how they were lying and such things as that.
Right. So this is really for parents. This is so that you can go through that process with the parents after the loss of a child.
Yes, and hopefully to put them at ease a little bit and to show us how they found the baby and how the little baby slept the night before.
Very important. Very important. Real quick about yourself, Robert. Are you originally from the area?
I was born here in Horry County in 1950. Grew up in the Crescent Beach section. Went to Wampee Little River High School, and after that I went to Horry Georgetown Tech for 2 years. And following that, I had gotten involved in the funeral business and went to Mortuary Science School in Louisville, Kentucky.
Is that right, in Kentucky?
Yes, sir. Downtown Louisville. That's where we were back then.
We had somebody just last week and the week before. We've had some fascinating folks. Al Burleson with Southland National Insurance Company that aired on Friday, talking about pre-needs, and clearly the Charles Miles was on the week before. Fascinating hearing folks. Clearly the funeral science industry is something that a lot of folks may not know about.
It's an industry that probably doesn't attract a lot of people, but I find that it is a rewarding profession to be in, and there's good job security in it too.
Right. You were actually in the industry for almost a decade.
Yes, sir. I started working in Myrtle Beach, which was formerly the Bullard Funeral Home.
Right.
I went to Mortuary Science School, and then I worked in Columbia, South Carolina for about 5.5, 6 years.
Is that right?
And then I moved back to Horry County in 1980.
Okay, sure. I think I saw your family. Of course, I'd interviewed your younger brother before, Tracy Edge, when we were up in North Myrtle Beach once. I believe that's your younger brother.
Yes,
and he highlighted, of course, a lot of longtime family businesses up in that area. Had you ever thought about getting active in the family business?
Well, I guess I always have been kind of the background. My dad was in the motel business since the mid-'60s.
Right.
We had a restaurant we ran for some number of years, but the motel business is still with us, and I'm still active in that.
Is that right? So you're able to do that, continue to help your family out on that?
And it's just a little mom and pop motel.
Right.
Just family run and operate.
Sure. Are your parents still living, Robert?
My mother's still living. She's 87 years old.
Is that right?
But she's still with us.
That's great. That's great. What actually prompted you to run for office in the first place? I believe before becoming coroner, you had served as, am I correct, an Horry County councilman?
Yes, probably, my dad was involved in politics in his younger years, and growing up, I was on the rescue squad, the volunteer fire department, volunteer police back in those days. So it was a small area, and they needed a lot of extra help, and we helped do work for nothing. I think probably I got involved because I saw a need in the community and wanted to hopefully had done as my dad had done in the previous times, work for the community and the people and help better it.
Had your father been on county council as well, or just on city and town council?
He was just in city council,
right.
And what was formerly Crescent Beach and then North Myrtle Beach.
Right. Any other siblings that are elected office holders other than you and Tracy?
Just Tracy and myself. And I had a brother who works for the county police and a sister who's a principal at the North Myrtle Beach Primary School.
Is that right? Wow. So all of y'all involved in public service?
Yes, sir.
That's tremendous.
And she's been a principal for many years, and she chose education. And my mother was a school teacher too, so she probably guided us a little bit, and we guided her too.
How many folks are in the Horry County Coroner's office, Robert?
When I started in 1989, there was myself and one administrative assistant. And today we've grown from less than 1 call a day to an average of 4 calls a day. And we have 2 admins in the office, 2 ladies who are very, very good and help people.
Right.
And then I have 3 other deputies
You have 3 other deputy coroners.
Yes,
wow. So in literally in right under 20 years, you have grown to the point of needing 3 deputies as well as 2 administrative assistants in y'all's offices here in the Government and Justice Center.
Well, actually, we're at an M.L. Brown Public Safety Building.
Okay,
which is
good.
Just about a mile or so down.
Very
downtown.
close by, sure. But right here in Conway, so you're in a position that you can fan out across the county easily.
Yes, sir. Those deputies, one lives here in Conway.
Right.
Who's Tony. Chris lives in Murrells Inlet. Tamara lives in Myrtle Beach, and I live in North Myrtle Beach.
Right.
And we try to split the calls up, whoever's the closest to respond, to keep response time down. And normally that's how we work it. I might work a couple calls one day, but then they might have 2 or 3 the next day.
Right, right. How does the process normally work? For folks who aren't familiar with the coroner's office, Robert, is it who all would be utilizing the services of the coroner? If I died in the hospital, is the hospital going to call the coroner's office?
Only if your death is an unnatural death, they will call us in. Right. We answer all the emergency room calls, all deaths that occur in homes, assisted living homes, and places like that.
You said all the emergency room calls.
Yes, all the emergency room calls are referred to us.
Right.
And some of those, the people will have local physicians who will step in and help us out, and some are out of town and don't have a local physician, and those we step in and handle.
Mm-hmm. So you were contacted really then on a lot of calls. You said 4 calls a day.
On an average of 4 a day. Yes.
That is incredible. That is incredible.
It might not sound like a lot, but when you spread it out over the period of a year and the time involved, some of them are very time involved and some are not, but it keeps us all pretty busy.
Right, and death doesn't take any time off. I mean, you're talking about 7 days a week.
7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
That is amazing, Robert. Which I guess to some degree is the life of a funeral owner-operator. I mean, if you're involved in a funeral home or working in a funeral home, you're clearly oftentimes on call all the time.
The same as they are. And as you said, death doesn't always occur in the daytime. 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we get a call, then we get up and go.
Right, right.
And of course, they do the same thing too.
Absolutely. What was it about the industry that really got you interested in it, Robert? You know, growing up, particularly having worked some and helped out in the family business and thought of those operations, what was it about the funeral industry that?
I guess it was the intrigue of working with people. And I feel like people with a funeral background or who do have a funeral background, they're trained to help people in a period of grief and times that they are not familiar with. And,
right.
And lots of times they just don't know what to do. And we're asked that question a lot, what do I do next?
Oh, yeah.
And you have, for instance, a lady and a gentleman, and the husband dies, and he's always been the breadwinner and the one in charge. And and she's left, and she just doesn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we can guide them. We suggest that they call friends or family in if they aren't close around.
Right.
Sometimes people need a little counseling. We suggest that maybe a minister can come in and help them do things like that.
Sure. That's not stuff that the coroner's office can do. I mean, y'all don't have counseling, obviously.
No, sir. No, sir. We don't do it. We try to lay a foundation where they can get that later on if they need it, and hopefully we can help them in that direction.
Sure, sure. Now, do all 46 counties in the state have a coroner?
All do. There's one county that has a medical examiner system. They also have a coroner too.
Okay.
I feel like we probably have the best of 2 worlds here. We have a local hospital, Grand Strand. We have a local forensic pathologist, Dr. Proctor, who does a lot of cases for us.
Sure, sure.
If he's not available, we send some to the medical college in Charleston or to a doctor in Columbia sometimes.
Right.
But going back to Dr. Proctor, you know, if we have a problem or we need some medical advice, all we have to do is pick up the phone and call him, or go by his office and sit down and talk to him.
That's tremendous.
So I think we have a good system here in Horry County.
That's Dr. Edward Proctor from
Yes,
Conway, who has old Conway roots. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's
His
tremendous.
dad was a local surgeon here in Conway.
Sure, sure. And of course, it is important. Now, this is an elected office as well.
Yes, sir.
I mean, clearly you have to run for office. Is that every 2 years or 4 years?
Every 4 years, and fortunately, this is an election year this year.
Okay. Wow. It is a, you know, as you think about obviously getting out and being around the county, since you and the deputy coroners clearly know the county well, you really have to spread out, and it gives you an opportunity, as you said, to meet folks clearly in their time of greatest need, but to get to know a lot of people in the community.
Yeah, and I'm asked lots of times, you know, they say you have a hard job, and it is a hard job sometimes, especially when you're dealing with children.
Oh, yeah.
But I find that I'm compensated by meeting a lot of nice people, and here again, hopefully we can help them and put them at ease as much as possible.
Right. If a viewer needs to get off to work now or get family off to school, Robert, is there a good phone number for someone to call if it's not a 911 call? I mean, is there a good phone number if they've got any questions about the coroner's office?
Our office here in Conway is 843-915-5110.
Okay.
And the ladies are there, and I'm there a good bit of the time during the daytime from 8 to 5. And you know, if an emergency comes up, call Central Dispatch and they can contact us.
Sure, sure.
We wear beepers and cell phones all the time.
Great, but you encourage folks to call if they've got questions. Of course, there's also some frequently asked questions on the website, horrycounty.org. I think if you click on Coroner, there's some questions there oftentimes that folks want to know.
Yeah, and probably a couple questions we get, people will call and ask us about cremation.
Right.
What the laws are, and there's a 24-hour waiting period of time that once someone is deceased before they can be cremated.
Is that right? 24 hours. So if someone dies out in their home, they can't, I mean, if they go through a funeral home or otherwise, they have to wait.
There's still that waiting period, and there's some paperwork that has to be satisfied, such as a cremation authorization and a signed death certificate either by the coroner's office or a physician, whoever's in charge of the medical part of the paperwork.
It'd be very difficult. You know, the shows CSI and all the others, it'd be difficult to unearth a body, obviously, if someone's cremated there. I guess is that one of the ways that you get rid of DNA? Even?
Cremation would get rid of DNA simply by the fact that it's destroyed by the fire.
Right.
I don't watch CSI, and I think it's a great show. I just wish we could be as good as they are.
I'm sure you are. That's right. You and now you said there's Tamara Willard, who's been with you for about how long?
Tamara's been with us about 4 years, I believe now, 4.5 or 5.
Right. And Tony?
Tony Hendricks. And Tony, I've known Tony since, I guess, 20-some years ago.
Is that right?
Tony used to be a paramedic and EMT with the Horry County Rescue.
Right.
For ambulance service.
Sure.
And later Tony served as the Conway Fire Chief for, I think, approximately 15 years.
Is that right?
And he retired from that, and we had a vacancy that came open, and Tony applied, and I really felt Tony would be a good man for us.
Oh,
he knows the community, he knows the agencies to deal with, and he's been an asset. And also we have a gentleman named Chris Burris who lives at Merle's End, and Chris has a mortuary science degree too.